everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a book review and this time it is of Heir by Sarah J Maas. This is the third in the Throne of Glass series and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Now if you haven't read Throne of Glass or Crown of Midnight, then you need to go and read them. This series is fast becoming and pretty much has become one of my all-time favourite series. It's so good. It's a fantasy series following a girl called Selena Sardothien who is an assassin, and it's about her life and her trials as she fights to become the King's Champion. And then once she becomes the King's Champion, which is a bit of a spoiler for the first book, but oh well, when she becomes that, it's about the life she leads and her history and the magic that is within in this fantasy world, and the ways in which her past and her heritage is all going to affect the world. This is just a really amazing series, so if you haven't read the first or second book, go and read those. But if you have, then Heir of Fire, if you've read the first and second and you don't know whether to read Heir of Fire, I cannot recommend this book enough. It is so good. Like, Sarah J Maas just outdoes herself every time. This book is so much bigger. This one is like over 550 pages. It's so much bigger than the first two books. And I was trying to figure out why, and I think it's mainly because she introduces quite a few new characters who are actually like central characters. In the first two books you've got Selena, you've got Dorian, Kale and Nehemiah, who are your sort of main ones, and Heir of Fire really introduces a few new characters who are just as central. Obviously a lot of things changed within some of the central characters' lives and storylines in Crown of Midnight, and that meant that we did need some more characters, and Heir of Fire introduced, I guess, about 3 who are really now up there with the originals as people who are really key to the storyline and what's going on, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed getting to know them. As always, this was so full of twists and turns. Like, you think you know what's going on, you think you know who someone is, and then boom, it's like the complete opposite in some cases. A lot of the times with the characters in the Throne of Glass world, it's a massive game of I'll show you my hand, you show me yours, people lying, people hiding things, people spying. It's so clever the way that Sarah J Maas writes it. Nothing is as it seems. No one bar maybe 1 or 2 characters are ever who you think they are, or ever the people that you think that they are. This book really ramped it up in terms of the magic as well, and just I was pretty happy with the world building in Crown of Midnight, and then I got Heir of Fire and was like, wow, there was like none in Crown of Midnight, because Heir of Fire just totally takes it to a completely new level when it comes to world building and talking to you about the history and all that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed that because it gives you more of a background and more of an understanding to do with Selena, as to do with why the world is the way it is, as to do with the politics between various countries, and yeah, it was just really interesting and really cool just to be able to see it. This book definitely takes you to new places as well. Selena is not just in the capital in Rifthold. She is someone completely new. She's never in Rifthold in this book, and that takes you to a completely different world, which I loved. Just, well, not completely different world, completely different place, but it felt like a completely different world, and that was just a really great way of just letting the reader know about other elements of the Throne of Glass universe. So that's the sort of non-spoilery part of my review of Heir of Fire. As I said, I give this 5 out of 5 stars. It was fantastic. So action-packed, so gripping, so full of twists and turns, and just people and just amazing characters. If you haven't read the first 2 books, then go and read them. I've got full video reviews of both of them, so I will leave those both in the description box. So if you've only read one or both of them but you haven't read this one, go and check those out if you need a bit convincing, and get into this series. If you haven't, I cannot recommend the Throne of Glass series enough. It's so good. As I said, loved Heir of Fire, another amazing instalment in an amazing series, and Sarah J Maas just did this amazingly. So if you have read this book or you don't mind being spoiled, keep watching, and if you haven't read it, read it, come back, and I shall see you soon if you haven't. Now on to the spoilery section. As I was saying at the beginning, I loved the introduction of the new central characters. So they were Rowan, Aedion and Manon. You know, Nehemia died in the last book, and then we were just left with Selena again, as of the really amazing kick-ass characters, and then Manon gets brought in, and I'm not gonna lie, she's kind of slowly become one of my favourite characters in this series. Manon is a witch, and with Manon we are seeing the whole story from a completely different side, because normally we just see it from Selena and Dorian and Chaol's side, who are sort of annoyed at the king, don't agree what he's doing, think he's bad. And actually with Manon we see it from the completely different side. She is like on the king's side, she's working for the king, and that was really interesting to me. But with Manon, that also gives us a new view into the world, as we get introduced to the what in my head I see as like dragons, or a bit like dragony characters, but they don't breathe fire. They're sort of these animals, and that was really cool to just see that element of it. But you know, Manon is, I don't think she's not meant to be one of the heroes as it like Selena and Dorian and Chaol are sort of portrayed. Yet that is how she's portrayed by Sarah J Maas, and that was something I found, I can't tell whether I loved it, hated it, found it really confusing or really interesting. I think it was probably all of the above, because I love her character. Yeah, I know that for the moment she is actually kind of one of the villains, and yet she's presented in the same way Selena is, as Rowan is, as Dorian is, as Chaol is, as one of the good guys. And I can kind of, part of me was seeing within her storyline and within her, who she is and the decisions she made, part of me saw how that may affect the next book and may affect how she is woven into the storyline. But I am just really intrigued to see how the witches and Manon and how they are just going to fall into play, because they are really the only, she and they are really the only group who have been focused upon, who haven't met anybody else. They have been very isolated from the rest of the story. So that was something I really loved. And then we have Aedion, or Aedion we'll go with. I'm really bad with the names in this book. And he was one of the people who, like, you get at the beginning you think he's one thing, and then it's like complete 180 flipped on its head. Wow, he's actually a good guy. That all these people apparently he's been killing are all still alive, the bane of the rebels, and I'm like, wow, this is insane. And I just loved how that was woven in, and I loved seeing his relationship with Chaol and seeing how that developed and how they were figuring each other out. That was a really interesting element of the story, and I kind of really want Aiden and Aelin or Selena to meet, just because I want to see how that'll go, because she's obviously heard of him, she has heard what he's done and all this stuff, and I really want to see how that goes. But I loved his character. I loved how I loved how Sarah J Maas used him to sort of tell us more and let us know more and that sort of thing. And then we have Selena and Rowan. Wow, did that take a turn that I just did not see. They went from like more like enemies to best friends. I was like, what is going on? But I really enjoyed that. I loved seeing the whole magic side of it from the Fae sort of viewpoint, and just getting to know that element of the world. I love seeing Selena really develop her powers and her magic, and seeing how that really affected things, and that battle with the Flag Princes, wow. You know, you think that it's all over, but then I knew in my head that there's another book, so it can't really be all over, but you think that it's all over, and then boom, it's like, right, I'm just going to destroy you, pal. Which I enjoyed immensely. But I really liked how Sarah J Maas used those scenes with the Flag Princes to tell us about Selena's past and to really help us understand where she's coming from, help us understand why she makes some of the decisions she does, why she holds back, why she is the way she is, just to let us know more of her history, more of her as a character, more of her background. And that was, you know, it was a terrible way, like terrible for Selena to go through, but it was a really cool way for her to do that with us and also let us know about more of the history of Aurelia, more of the history to do with the Fae and to do with Brannon and everything that went on in the past. So I also really enjoyed that. Now there was one part of this book that I just was not very sure of, and that was Saoirse and Dorian. I really felt like, you know, obviously in the capital in Rifthold, Aiden and Chaol sort of had the majority of the focus. It was majority of it was on them, on what they were doing, on what they were discovering and what they were finding out about each other. And Dorian was sort of not left on the sidelines, he just wasn't focused upon as much. And so we would just get these random intervals where the Dorian and Saoirse thing would sort of start and it'd be happening and then we wouldn't hear about it for a bit. And I just feel like it was a little bit underdeveloped, and I just didn't really like it. I understand that Dorian needed someone, that Dorian wanted someone, and she helped him, but I just wasn't a fan of that relationship. And then at the end it turns out she's actually like a rebel spy who's working with Ren, who we know through Aiden and through Archer Finn, and I'm like, this just, I was just like, okay, she's only a little bit of the story, I can get past this, still I can give it 5 out of 5. I just wasn't really a fan of Dorian and Saoirse, and yeah, I just wasn't really a fan of that bit. So as I said at the beginning, I really enjoyed how the world and the history of the Throne of Glass universe was just ramped up and developed so much in this book. It was just, I felt like it was taken to a new level, and I really enjoyed that, and I loved how the magic was developed so much more as well, especially from the Fae POV. That was really cool. Yeah, that, like, I'm really excited to see how the magic will start to really play into how things are going to turn out. Because I think that's going to be an integral part, especially now with Dorian revealing himself to his father. But Dorian is also like, you know what, when she comes back, we're doing this together. Which I'm really looking forward to. But then at the same time, it ended with Dorian having the call upon him, and I'm like, great. So now we've got to release Dorian, who is probably going to be controlled by his father and no one's going to have a clue. We've got to release Aiden, who is currently locked up. Chaol has got to go and find Selena, who is on her way back to Rifthold to get the other key from her ex-master, and Manon is flying north, and I'm like, wow. I don't know whether there's just going to be 4 in this series, but part of me feels like one more book is not going to wrap and get everything back together and figure everything out unless it's like 600 pages. It would have to be the same size as this or bigger for it to really wrap it up properly. But I'm really looking forward to the next book. Heir of Fire exceeded my expectations and it's brought in some amazing characters that I've totally fallen in love with. And I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next, because it's left so, as I've just sort of gone through, it's left so much open and so much that it's got to be figured out, and so many loose ends that got to be brought together, that I'm like, wow, okay, breathe. How is Sarah J Maas going to do this? How is this all going to work out? You know, we all want the King of Adelan off the throne. We all want him destroyed. You know, anyone that's a fan of this series kind of wants that. And I'm just really interested to see how it's going to happen. And I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to, I guess at some point Selena's going to have some sort of confrontation with Abramin, or her, whatever he's called, her ex-master, the king of the assassins. That's gonna have to happen. Like, this is getting exciting, so I am so looking forward to the next book. So that is my review of Heir of Fire by Sarah J Maas. As I said, give it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this. It is quite long, especially compared to the others, but I read about 200 pages of this yesterday afternoon, so if I can do about 200 pages in an afternoon, then that's incredible. So I'm sure other people can read it just as fast, if not faster. But I loved this. If you have any thoughts, if you disagree with me on anything, let me know in the comments. Let's have a chat about this. Remember to like and subscribe if you did enjoy this, and I shall see you soon, guys. Bye.